Welcome back to the Cranked Clown.
All right, so today we are diving into some pretty strange territory.
Oh, yeah.
With a YouTube video transcript from a channel called the Shaka Project. It's called Jokester Meets Movie. And full disclosure, I'm already a little bewildered.
Wow.
We got blueberries,
Okay.
masks, shifting identities,
Interesting.
a quest for something called infinite evil. It's like someone threw a philosophy textbook,
Yeah.
a comic book, and a bag of produce all into a blender.
It certainly sounds like a unique recipe for a story.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, this video dives headfirst into some pretty heavy themes.
Right.
All while maintaining a comedic tone.
Yeah.
That's a tough balance to strike.
Exactly. So to unpack all this, let's start with our main characters.
Okay.
We've got Duncan, your average guy,
Mm-hmm.
and Jacob, whose life takes a sharp turn thanks to his unusual addiction to blueberries.
Blueberries.
We're not talking about just a casual snack here.
Right.
This is full-blown obsession to the point where his hair turns permanently blue.
Wow. What's immediately fascinating about this blueberry motif is the way it sets off.
Yeah.
A chain of events that completely transforms Jacob's life.
Like the butterfly effect.
It prompts us to think about
Yeah.
those seemingly insignificant choices we make every day.
Right.
What if those small indulgences, those minor deviations from our routines, have a much greater impact than we realize?
It's like the butterfly effect, but with a blueberry-flavored twist.
Exactly.
And as if the blue hair wasn't enough, Jacob then has this fateful encounter with a man offering a box of masks.
And this is where things get really symbolic.
Yeah.
Jacob chooses a mask that he feels speaks to him.
Wow.
And it speaks to him loudly.
Mm-hmm.
From that moment on, he adopts the persona of the jokester.
Right.
And undergoes a drastic personality shift.
It's like the mask unlocks this hidden side of him,
Yeah.
this mischievous, even sinister energy.
Right. And this brings up some really interesting questions about identity.
Yeah. Are we all wearing masks to some extent?
It makes you wonder.
Are there parts of ourselves that we suppress or only emerge under certain circumstances?
Yeah.
Is it possible for external changes like dyeing your hair blue or putting on a mask to actually trigger internal transformation?
This concept of the mask ties into Carl Jung's idea of the persona, the social face we present to the world, which may or may not reflect our true selves.
Right.
It makes you wonder, is the jokester's transformation a liberation from societal expectations or a descent into a darker, more primal part of himself?
And as the jokester persona takes hold, his relationship with Duncan deteriorates. It starts with seemingly harmless pranks.
Okay.
Turning off Duncan's water while he's gardening, stealing his hat, but quickly escalates into something much more unsettling.
Oh, wow.
He threatens people.
Oh, geez.
He talks about inflicting pain on those who have wronged him, even targeting Duncan's ex-wife, Emily,
Goodness.
and suggesting they go after her sister, Violet, too.
Right.
This isn't just mischievous anymore, it's bordering on malicious.
Right, and that progression from playful to harmful is crucial.
Yeah.
It seems like the jokester is using humor as a way to distance himself from the increasingly cruel nature of his actions.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that he's not driven by some grand ambition, but by a very personal, even petty desire for revenge.
And to make things even more complicated, there's this brief appearance of a mysterious leader figure.
A leader.
It's almost like a voice in the jokester's head urging him towards this path of infinite evil.
Interesting.
Who is this shabby figure, and what is their end game?
That element of mystery adds another layer of complexity to the story.
Yeah.
Is this leader a real person?
Right.
A figment of the jokester's imagination, or perhaps a manifestation of something darker? His inner demons, maybe?
Yeah.
Their influence seems significant, pushing the jokester further down this path of darkness.
And amidst all this chaos, we keep coming back to those blueberries.
Those blueberries.
They're not just a quirk. They seem to represent the initial choice that set this whole chain reaction in motion.
I see.
Could indulging in a simple pleasure like blueberries, something that seems so harmless, actually be a metaphor for the choices we make?
Interesting.
That lead us down unexpected and potentially dangerous paths?
It's a fascinating question.
It's almost like those choose your own adventure books, you know, where one decision sends you spiraling down a path you can't come back from.
Yeah.
And speaking of paths, this video culminates at a magical fountain.
Okay.
The jokester drinks from it, fully embracing his transformation, and he seems to believe those blueberries were the catalyst.
Interesting.
What do you make of this fountain scene?
Well, the fountain is intriguing. It's traditionally a symbol of purification,
Right.
rebirth, even healing.
Yeah.
But in this context, it seems to represent something far more sinister. A perversion of those traditional ideas, instead of cleansing or renewing it, seems to solidify the jokester's descent into darkness.
I get what you mean. It's like he's being baptized in his own negativity. And there's this chilling moment where the leader tells him, there are more jokesters out there. Infinite evil jokesters, you are one of them now.
Wow.
It suggests that this transformation isn't unique to Jacob. There's this whole undercurrent of darkness of people embracing this jokester persona.
It makes you wonder, is there a part of the jokester in all of us?
Right.
Do we all have the potential to succumb to these darker impulses, to become consumed by negativity and the desire for revenge?
Yeah.
It's a pretty unsettling thought.
Definitely unsettling. And this whole video has this really jarring mix of humor and darkness.
Yeah.
1 minute you're chuckling at the absurdity of it all, and the next you're genuinely disturbed by the jokester's actions and the potential consequences.
Right.
It's like a dark satire of superhero origin stories, but it also has these moments of genuine psychological horror.
That's precisely what makes this video so compelling. It plays with our expectations, pushing us to confront the uncomfortable reality that even in the midst of laughter, there can be a darkness lurking beneath the surface.
Right.
And it challenges us to consider how those darker impulses might manifest in our own lives.
And speaking of uncomfortable realities, let's go back to those masks.
Okay.
It seems like everyone in this story is wearing a mask in some way, literally or figuratively. We've got the jokester with his physical mask, but then you have characters like Duncan's ex-wife Emily,
Yeah.
described as a good gal, but not so great to Duncan, which hints at a more complex personality beneath the surface.
Right.
Even the leader, shrouded in mystery, is wearing a mask of anonymity.
Absolutely. The masks become this potent symbol of hidden identities, of the different faces we present to the world. It makes you question how much of our identity is truly authentic and how much is shaped by social expectations, past experiences, and the roles we play in our lives.
Right.
Are we ever truly showing our true selves?
It makes you wonder, is there ever a point where those masks become so ingrained that we lose sight of who we are beneath them? It's like the jokester who seems to revel in shedding his old identity and fully embracing this new, darker persona, even though it brings him nothing but misery and isolation.
It's almost as if he succumbed to a form of nihilism, this belief that nothing really matters, that life is meaningless.
Right.
And in a way that nihilism makes him even more dangerous because he no longer feels bound by conventional morality or social norms. He's operating outside the system, driven solely by his own warped sense of justice.
And it seems like the blueberries represent that initial step towards this nihilistic worldview.
Interesting.
Indulging in them, despite knowing they're causing him harm, symbolizes a rejection of consequences, a detachment from reality.
That's a really insightful connection.
Uh-huh.
The blueberries become a metaphor for the choices we make that might seem small at the time, but ultimately set us on a path towards self-destruction. It's like a slow poison, a gradual chipping away at our sense of self and our connection to the world.
It's almost like a cautionary tale disguised as a slapstick comedy. We laugh at the absurdity of the jokester's antics,
Yeah.
but there's a deeper message there about the dangers of unchecked negativity, of allowing those darker impulses to take control.
And it begs the question, how do we avoid becoming the jokester? How do we recognize those blueberries in our own lives, those seemingly harmless choices or indulgences that might be leading us down a dangerous path?
That's a really big question, and I think it goes beyond just recognizing those choices. It's about understanding the deeper motivations behind them. What voids are we trying to fill? What pain are we trying to numb? What masks are we using to shield ourselves from the world? It feels like we're talking about more than just bad choices or like simple indulgence.
Yeah.
It's about the underlying psychology, you know, the motivations that drive us toward those blueberries, those masks, those escapes from ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think this video, in its own bizarre way, prompts us to consider some pretty profound questions about human nature. Are we inherently good or bad? Are we all capable of darkness?
Yeah.
Or is there something specific, some catalyst that triggers these transformations?
Well, if we're looking for a catalyst in this story, those blueberries seem to be the prime suspect. They become this potent symbol of the seemingly insignificant choices that can have a ripple effect leading to bigger and bigger consequences.
And it ties into the concept of moral disengagement, the process by which we gradually justify or rationalize our actions.
Right.
Even when they go against our values, The jokester starts with small pranks. But as he continues down that path, he becomes increasingly detached from the harm he's inflicting.
Yeah.
The humor, the mask, the persona, they all serve as a buffer, allowing him to distance himself from the consequences of his actions.
It's almost like the further he descends, the more he needs to convince himself that it's all just a joke.
Right.
That it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. And this is where the nihilism becomes a dangerous coping mechanism. It allows him to embrace the chaos and destruction without feeling the full weight of his actions.
So how do we guard against this kind of moral disengagement in our own lives? How do we make sure those blueberries don't lead us down a similar path?
I think it starts with self-awareness, with recognizing the potential for darkness within ourselves. We all have those shadow sides, those impulses that might lead us astray.
Right.
But acknowledging their existence is the first step in preventing them from taking over.
So instead of pretending those darker impulses don't exist, we need to confront them head on.
Precisely. And that confrontation doesn't have to be dramatic battle.
Okay.
It can be as simple as pausing to reflect on our motivations. Why am I choosing this path? What need is it fulfilling? Am I being honest with myself about the potential consequences?
It's like checking in with that inner compass.
Yeah.
Making sure we're still heading in the direction that aligns with our values.
And surrounding ourselves with people who support our best selves, who challenge us to grow and evolve.
Right.
Who call us out when we start to veer off course.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because even though Duncan is often the target of the jokester's pranks, he never loses his sense of empathy or compassion.
Right.
He represents that grounding force, that reminder of what it means to be a good person.
He's a crucial counterpoint to the jokester's descent.
Yeah.
He embodies those qualities of kindness, understanding, and forgiveness that the jokester has abandoned.
Yeah.
And his presence serves as a reminder that even amidst darkness, there's always the possibility for redemption.
This deep dive has been a wild ride.
Oh, yeah.
Unsettling, thought-provoking, and surprisingly funny at times.
Yeah.
But it's definitely left me with a lot to ponder.
Me too. And I think that's the mark of a truly powerful story. Yeah. It stays with you long after it's over, prompting you to question your assumptions and reconsider your own choices.
So for all of you listening out there, here's a final thought to chew on. If something as simple as a blueberry can have such profound consequences in this story, what seemingly insignificant choices might be shaping your destiny right now? What are the masks you're wearing, and what parts of yourself are you hiding? And most importantly, are you heading towards the light or being pulled towards the darkness?
Those are questions worth pondering. And on that note, I think it's time for me to step away from the metaphorical blueberries and grab a real snack.
Good idea. I think I'll join you until next time. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, every choice matters.